Hey y'all, welcome to Hillbilly Garage. This evening we're going to work on some cam bearings. You know, just you watch other people on YouTube or wherever, and the cam bearings, I don't know, for some reason they seem to be scary. I don't know why. People, there's jokes on that you hear, oh, don't look at the cam bearings, that way they're fine. Well, that definitely would not be the case here. And after I get it out, I'll show you. But in this number 5 bearing back here, we found a pretty ugly circumstance. But on these MOPARs, Hemis are this way, Magnum this way. This number 5 bearing in the back is smaller. So we're going to start with that one. But first, what we had to do is I had to take the big pusher off of my tool and put the little pusher in, which is this block right here, onto the expander, because this one will not fit through the journal.
Will that tool work on more than just magnums, or?
Oh yeah.
You've used it on your Chevy, right?
Yeah. Well, this is the same bushing that I used on the Hemis for the number 5, but same tool with different blocks. I've even got them written in here. The number 1 on the 3rd gen is this big one. This is 2, 3, and 4 on the 3rd gen. This is number 5 on the Hemi. And it's for the other small blocks. This is number 5 on a Magnum. And then this pusher will be 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the Magnum. So. But anyway, like I said, because
worth the investment.
Huh?
That tool is worth the investment.
Yeah. And, I mean, there are more expensive universal tools. Maybe one day, if I need to, I'll invest in another one. But, I mean, I've already gotten several cam bearing jobs out of this one already, and there's nothing wrong with it. I did have to replace this one sleeve that goes on this inner expander, but I ordered up a couple of replacements and the tool's still working. So this is what we're going to keep going with. Like I said, this may be up for discussion, but I'm going to go ahead and knock number 5 out first. Now, it could actually go either way. But because it's a shorter trip out of the journal to go inside, that's the reason I'm going this direction. And it's funny that my tool happens to fit right down through the distributor hole here. And you just slide your expander up into the cam bearing and you start expanding. You twist your handle back here, holding this with this wrench. And y'all notice the wrench got some cuts in it, but that has to do with 3rd gen Hemis. It doesn't have to do with anything else. Go ahead and make sure that is good and snug. You don't have to torque on it or nothing. And then just hold your handle pretty steady. And it's out. We'll take our wrench. Loosen that up a little bit. The bearing slides off. Bring it on out.
What does it look like? Pretty tore up.
You can see that it got a little rough when it went in last time. A little tight, I think. And I marked this with an arrow to make sure that we knew that this was facing front and this was down at the bottom. But right there, there was a big flap right there. I had to take a file and knock that nudge off there because I couldn't get my tool in there, and there was also a chunk that was laying in there. So this bearing was shot.
So if you didn't replace it,
We'd be trying to run a brand new camshaft or ruin a brand new camshaft on an old bearing because, well, if you don't look at them, they're still good, right? No. I just think it's better to
and a lot
go
of
ahead and do it.
a lot of dealerships, they won't do it, will they? Couldn't think of the word.
That's mostly on third gens, but you know, yeah, they're.
They say you need a new engine.
If you're not there watching over their shoulder, you don't know what you're going to end up with. They'll tell you, yeah, you know, because the joke is, well, if you don't look at them, there's nothing wrong with them. So if they didn't look at them, I don't know. So we're going to go and we're going to change back to our bigger pusher. And we're going to change there we go. Change over to the next expander. Put it back on the tool.
Now, which one are you taking out next?
Now I'm going to work my way from the front to the back. Alrighty, here we go. Slide the bigger expander in. Start turning it while you hold it with your wrench till you get it real good and snug.
That one came out pretty easy.
Yeah. Might have made it look easy, but it is. It's not hard. And the good thing about magnums is you got plenty of room for your hand down in there to reach right on in. I'm gonna go to our next one. Make sure we're tight. Back it off. And what I should have done, I'm gonna do right quick, is throw my alignment cone on there. Going back in after number 3. That was number 1.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not gonna stay up there. We'll set them right here.
You were right, though.
And this cone right here. Helps to make sure your tool stays lined up. You center your hole, just hold it up there with your hand. And it's just as simple as that. They're out. And there we have it. 5 cam bearings. And as we look them over, you can tell.
Put it under the light.
This is lined up with the hole, facing front. And you can see there's a little scarring over here. But, I mean, in all seriousness, there's a little bit of wear up in here. But for a mileage vehicle, it's not real awful on that, number one. Number two, set with, lined up with the journal here, facing front. And you can see that it really wasn't getting great oil circulation up there, but you know, it's dirty, it's stained, but it's not super awful. That one was facing here. Same thing, up in the top, dirty, stained. Majority of the wear is over here, which falls in line with what we've said before. With the rotation of the engine and the pressure of the springs, it throws all the pressure over here. Now, on this block, we cannot clock these bearings because they don't have grooves on the back and there are no grooves in the journals. So we will have to make sure when we put it back together that the oil holes are going to line up with an oil journal. But as far as wear goes, they don't look like they were doing too awful bad.
Except that last
Except
one.
for number 5 here. But it had a rough time going in. And then it peeled right here above my finger. Because I had right above my finger, it's shiny right there because I had to file that chunk out of there. And you can see when it was put in, that one was kind of roughed up. But now they're out and we'll get these journals all cleaned up. I'll deburr the edge of that one down there so that when we put a new cam bearing in, it'll go in a lot smoother. But we will be back. All right, y'all. Cam bearings are out. We did the final wash on the block. Made sure that all the passageways and everything were clean and cleaned on the journals. And when we pulled the cam bearings out, number 5 looked like it had a little bit of trouble when it was put in this round. Now I'm really hoping that we don't have the same problem with these. And what I did is I took a file and I reached in here and I beveled this edge here so that hopefully that bearing will get started smoother, and if it starts smooth, then it'll go on in. And you can also notice that there's a yellow mark right there above my finger. I've done that on every one of the journals, and what that does is that lines us up with the oil holes. And one good thing about MOPARs is you can look right down through here and you can see your light on this end, so that'll help us as we're lining our oil holes up. Because also on a MOPAR, there are no grooves that are cut in the journal, in the block, and the bearings do not have channels built onto them. So it's very important that we have to get the holes lined up properly.
Show them the part number for those.
And well, these are Engine Tech brand, but they're CC474s, and you'll notice on the front, it's labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you always want to check the box to make sure. Mine were. They're in the proper order. This is the B7, the number 5. That's what it said, B7. And all the other ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're in the box correctly. You want to make sure of that. And then you also see I took a Sharpie and I've drawn myself a line on every one so that as I'm driving these bearings in, I'll be able to, when I get set up, I'll be able to line up my Sharpie mark with my yellow mark so that I'll know that my oil hole is in line. You know, want to make sure that we clean them up a little bit. Don't want to go driving no dirt in behind them or anything. Yeah, we got to get our tool set up. Put our alignment cone on our shaft. And because we are working on the little bearing, we're going to use our little pusher, though it's not really an issue when you're going in with new bearings. You got to make sure that you clear the journal, but we'll be okay as far as this goes. And we'll be using our smallest expander for our number 5 bearing. You see, it's a pretty good fit. Want to keep a little bit of lube on this stuff so that, you know, everything moves and works together good and smooth. Doesn't take a lot. And because this bearing is so much smaller than the others, we can actually start this one from the front. You'll see when you tighten that up, the jaws on that will expand and they reach out and they grab a hold of that bearing and snug it on the rubber right there. And you want to make sure that you keep that snug as you're driving your bearings in, because these universal tools, they will tend to kind of back off on you as you're tapping on it. But once it's in, it's real easy to just turn the handle, and then once you start it in the journal with the bearing tight, then you can tighten it without your tool. But we're going to line up our mark. Get my Make sure that our cone is seated in the journal good and square. Make sure our lines are lined up down there. And let's hope that this bearing will start in without fraying like it did last time. Give her a little twist, make sure she stays snug.
See right here.
Now this number 5 bearing, it will be just slightly below flush when it's lined up properly. But what we can do is we can look down our hole, shine some light, and it will tell us that we are centered right on our hole. Can you show? Look down, straight down this hole right here. See the light down there?
Mm-hmm.
The hole in the bearing is just slightly smaller than the hole in the journal, so it gives you a little bit of leeway. And that bearing is just a hair past flush. And it's got us good. And you notice we didn't get any side frays, so we did good with that one. That'll work pretty good. Now we're going to change up on our expander. We'll switch back to the larger pusher. Now what we're going to have to do with these is we're going to have to feed our tool through. That was 5, now we're working on 4. So we pull the number 4, verify it, the 199. Yep, we got the 199. And we're going to ease it down in here. Slide it back on the tool. Get our tool tightened up. So we're good and snug in our bearing. Now we're gonna look and find our Sharpie mark. There it is. Y'all may have noticed that the number 4 and also the number 3 have 3 holes in them. You're only going to use 1, so you just make sure you get one of them all lined up. Get your cone up in here good and tight. We look and we see we got our Sharpie mark with our paint mark. Tap her easy. Try to stay square. what you'll find on these is the bearings are quite a bit narrower than your journal. And what they're going to do is they're going to pretty much line up square on one side. They'll be a little shy on the other side. But that's just the way it's done. We need one tiny tap. Yep. And we are lined up right square. Now we're going to go back. We're getting number 3. We check our box. Number 3 is the B258. Should be the one that's forward in your box if that's the way you set up. Sure enough, we got 258. Slide her down in here. You got to turn it a little bit. Get it onto your cam tool. Start snugging. Get her good and snug. We're gonna spin it around until we find our Sharpie mark. Line it up with our paint mark. Double check, make sure I'm tight one more time. Because if your tool gets loose, then you're liable to scar up your bearing. Don't ask me how I know. Then we're going to start in easy. Make sure she gets going good. Give her a twist, make sure she's tight. Keep our cone up in here with our fist. Watch closely on your progress. Because even though you can back these things up, if you can avoid having to do that, that's always better. That way we just want to sneak up on it. Get to it a little bit at a time. And there you have her. That one is right on.
You shine the light down in there?
You see right down through the hole. Like I said, the hole in your bearing is a little bit smaller, so now we're going for number 2, I'm sorry. It says it's B198. We're going to double check that. Yep, B198. Ease her down in there. Slide it on the tool. Get a wrench, snug it up good. We're gonna line up our Sharpie mark with our paint mark. Hold our cone tight. Easy taps. We're good.
Light.
Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this one out here. The safest way is to bring your tool from the back. And that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to do it the safe way. But your expander will not fit through that number 5 bearing.
The light.
So what we have to do is set our stand up where our tool can clear this direction.
Which you modified this engine stand for this,
Yeah.
right?
That's exactly why I did this. Is so that my tool would fit through there. Get my expander installed. Only one bearing left, so we know we got the right one. These are down in here. But what I neglected to do, so I marked the outside, but I did not mark the inside. But it's really simple. You can see it's right in the middle of the journal, and there's also the oil vein that is cast into the block. You follow this oil vein right here, and it'll tell you right where your hole is. Same process. We're gonna. It is a little bit difficult to see this one, but I have my camera lady watch my marks to make sure they don't move on me over here. Are we lined up over there?
Yep.
Still lined up?
You need to move it towards that way just a hair. There you go. Move it.
It is giving me a little difficulty here.
Yeah, you're good now. hair more. That looks pretty good.
All right. Back it out. We'll check it the same way. It needs. We're gonna call that good. I don't want to bring that too close, and it's sitting centered in the hole. The smaller hole is lined up with the bigger hole front to back, so we're good to go. So, yeah. Get the tool out. Get our expander up out of here.
Is that the old one?
This is the old one. This makes for a good tester.
Let me get around you.
As always, we're gonna ease things through here.
Now this is not the one that's gonna stay in it, right?
No, but we just want to make sure that
Everything
it's
clears.
turning, it's not binding, and that tells us that our alignment.
Where's the light at? They can't see.
It just tells us that our alignment on our camshaft turned out pretty good because it turns over smooth. So it's all good. Alrighty. So we have successfully installed cam bearings into this magnum block and test fit a camshaft, and it looks good. So it's time to move on to the next deal. And we will put that together and bring it to you real soon. We'll see y'all. Bye.